Hi guys, PJ here. Today we are installing a Parrot hands-free kit in a Citroen C3 or DS3. Both vehicles have exactly the same wiring, some sort of dashboard setup, no difference at all. To fit a Parrot kit into one of these vehicles you are going to need what's called an SOT harness, a cable. And this particular one's made by Autoleads, part number SOT040. This allows you to intersect the vehicle's wiring and plug the Parrot kit into the part that would go to the car radio. Next up is removing the radio itself. To remove the radio on one of these vehicles, it is very simple and straightforward. You will notice two holes each side on the actual radio, and you are going to need two release keys like these. Now they're a simple thing, they're available in most car accessory shops. All you've got to do, put them in the little holes and they'll click in, yeah? Both of them at the same time, just needs to be pulled apart from each other. So just spread the keys, pull them apart from each other and pull forwards. When you've done that, just ease the radio forwards, and on the back you now have access to your wiring. You have a Fackrel aerial connector, which you just squeeze the tab and pull, unless you've got a sticky one like this and it doesn't want to move. Like I say, a lot easier, not one-handed. There we go, that one comes off. And this particular one here, you have a bracket underneath. Just turn it over. There we go. Little horseshoe bracket there. Just push the clip down and lever it up and off. Radio will pop out. Put your radio safely out of the way, obviously, because you're going to be reinstalling this or an aftermarket radio if you're actually fitting a radio to the vehicle. If you are fitting a radio to the vehicle, this is where you can leave the video, because obviously you're going to be attaching your own bits and bobs to put a radio in. If you're fitting a Parrot hands-free kit, carry on watching and we'll go through that step by step. At each section I will stop and tape all the cabling up, make it look tidy, etc., and update you what I've done. If you are fitting the same Parrot kit as this, which is an MKI 9200 or the 9100, is very similar. It's just got a little green screen. Bits and bobs you're going to have in the box include the LCD screen, yeah, put that to one side. Controller, which will need the battery fitting. It goes in the back here, you just squeeze the tab and pull, and that comes out to put the battery in. And also the control box, the brains, there's that bit there. Underneath, you're going to have your USB connector, which you're going to put in the glove box or in the centre console, depending where you want it. You can plug phones and music and things like that into there. Also, you can plug in a USB stick with an update for the Parrot kit. Should the Parrot kit ever get an update, you can go on their website and download an update onto a USB stick and plug it into this cable, and it should auto update. I do say should. Okay, you've got a little pouch there to hold the screen because it slides off when it's installed. And you've got a little band there if you want the control on the steering wheel, like a grip band. We have a microphone, which normally would live where the car mirror is, right above it here. But unfortunately this vehicle's got one of the large glass roofs and it's not possible to do that. So it's going to have to sit probably on the dashboard or above the steering wheel somewhere. Got main wiring harness intersection as such, which I'll show you how to trim and what bits you need and don't need. And your mount for the screen, which plugs into the blue box. Okay, so let's start fitting this thing. The 040 adapter cable, you'll notice there's a red wire comes off it that's normally taped up, or an elastic band around it, that type of thing. Thread it through your dashboard, pop it out the bottom here. You notice I've dropped off the trim on the bottom, so it comes out the bottom here. What you want to do is run it all the way along, take the fuse box lid cover off, there you go, and bring it up so it comes out the bottom of your fuse box here, because you're going to need an ignition switched power supply for the kit, and we're going to take it from the fuse box area. So quite literally, feed the cable up from below. There you go, it can come up, look, straight there, and it's ready to go, yeah? Now, on the other end, if you've got steering wheel controls for your radio, you're going to need to unclip this plastic white bit from the original car wiring. Push the tab in and pull, and it will come out from its little socket that it's in. If I can get it. There we go. It's on a squeezy tab, look, so it's just a case of push that in and pull it out. This will need to be plugged into your SOT kit, the end that's going into the radio, so this bit, okay? Just slide it back in as if where you've took it from on that one, slide it back into the corresponding one on here. There we go. So I pulled some of the insulation back to separate the cabling a bit, and I plugged it in the new one. Look, that'll go into the radio when you put the radio back in the car. The other end, this end, goes connected to the original wiring loom of the vehicle. Just plug it in like you would plugging it into a radio. As such, squeeze it together, clamp over, done. That's that bit in. That's your SOT lead actually in and fitted. Okay, you're gonna have to connect your power up, like I was saying. We'll do that shortly. Next up, you're going to be threading all your wires through for your USB and your microphone and things like that. So I'll quickly run those now. Okay, and just to update you on where I'm at the moment, we have run the screen mount cable up under here. Now this panel here pulls off. So basically if you put your hand behind it, it'll clip off each side. Yep, there you go. Put your hand in there and pull up. The whole thing comes away. Look, you can move it out of the way. Loosen 4 screws. They're basically TX20. So you got one here and you got one at the bottom. Same on the other side. And you'll be able to pull this plastic frame forwards. Yeah. When you've done that, carefully run your cable down, and you'll notice I've missed the clip there where the fascia holds on. So make sure you don't get it in front of that. Yeah. Put it to the side of it, neatly out of the way, and then neatly behind. You don't want it in front of the plastic bar here because the radio will hit it. You need it behind this plastic bar. Yeah. So it tucks in, goes down here, round the back, and you want to drop it out in the footwell down there so it can connect into the brain of the unit. Now while I was here with all this in bits, I've also ran the USB. This particular one's going to end up in the glove box. Again, down in the footwell there, ready to be plugged into the blue box. Next up, I'm going to run the microphone, which is a similar sort of principle, except we're going to have to come out probably on this particular vehicle on top of the steering column here. Like I say, I'd normally put it up by the mirror, but that's not possible on this vehicle. We're going to have a big dangly piece of cable a couple of foot long, which is no good. So it's going to have to go there. I'm going to run that now and then update you again. And now we have our microphone positioned on the steering column. Like I say, not ideal, but if you're using a convertible car or you've got one of these big panoramic window screens, there's not really that many options. Should go up by the mirror, but hey ho. Right, basically the cable comes down through the dashboard and terminates here with all the rest ready to be plugged into the blue box. Now before we plug the blue box in, we are going to do the power feed to the fuse box, which I'll show you now. To the power supply, we're going to be using something called a fuse spur, which is one of these. If you've watched any of my other videos, you'll notice I use them for car radios quite a lot. Basically this plugs into an existing fuse spot on your fuse box and doubles it up. So you've got the outer fuse here, which will run your Parrot kit, and the inner fuse, which will run the original circuit. Now you're going to need your multimeter, or you're going to need one of those screwdrivers that lights up. And you're going to test each fuse with the ignition off to see which one is dead, 0 power. So do it by touching the top of the fuse. You'll notice the little metal element sticking out the top of it. And if it reads 0 on your multimeter, then you know it's dead with the ignition off. When you've found one, oops daisy, don't drop your multimeter, they are fragile. Good tip there. When you've found one that's dead, put your ignition on, touch it again. If it reads 12 point whatever, then that's a 12 volt fuse and that is live with the ignition. On this particular car, the second one from the end on the bottom row, which is a brown 5 amp fuse, is ignition switched. A lot of DS3s and C3s do have that position as switched, so it's a good place to start. However, depending on model, spec and year, it can be different for your vehicle, okay? So test it just to make sure. So what we're going to do now is pull that fuse out and pop it in the end of our little fuse spur. I'll show you that when it's all plugged in and done. There we go, fuse pulled out and plugged into the fuse spur. Now you can either bullet connector it together and put some electrical tape over it like I have, or you could solder it, either of which is fine. Do not twist wires together. I've seen many car fires and they're not pretty. So then plug this back into where your fuse came from originally for your power supply. Like so. There you go, it's plugged in just where the original fuse went. Quite dark down there. I mean, the fuse boxes in certain cars are in stupid places and very hard to get to. Then basically pull your cable through so that it's not all loose and dangling. Tape it up or cable tie it up so it doesn't chafe against anything. And that's your power side of it done for now. Now there is a possibility you're going to have to switch 2 connectors round, of which I'll show you in a minute. But now we're going to get the cabling out that comes with the Parrot kit. Now this is the main harness I'm on about, and we'll get that now. Right, so the harness that comes with the Parrot kit has got a lot of optional extras that you don't need. There's you know, sort of different inputs, low level inputs and stuff, line level inputs. Alright if you're fitting it on something like an XC90 or X5 or whatever, but for a little Citroen like these DS3s, no problem, you can go ahead and just basically snip them off. So on this particular one you've got line output, yeah, which is a brown wire and a white wire. We can go ahead and snip them off out of the way, just thin it down somewhat. We're going to tidy the cabling up. We can also go these lines as well, get rid of that. So if we just snip those off, move them out of the way, and then you've got tags for everything. Now keep your tags on because you're going to use them, yeah, you're going to need to know what they all are. I fitted many of these kits, so I'm just going to pull them all off and tidy the wiring loom up like I normally would, and then show you when it's finished what I would like your loom to look like in the interests of, you know, safety, so you don't trap any cables. At this point I will point out to you that if you're having any doubts about any of this kit, don't fit it yourself, pay a professional to do it. They are insured to do the job, and if you damage the car, if they damage the car, they're insured, the car will get repaired. If you damage your car, you've got a broken car. If you damage yourself, yep, you're injured, end of story. So think about it before you take a job like this on, yeah? Obviously I'm in no way responsible for doing any of this, you know, this is aimed at a guide to help you out. So no moaning at me, thank you very much. Let's carry on now and sort this Y loom out anyway. Okay, and this is my loom all tidied up. So all I've done, as you can see, is taped it up to keep it nice and tidy, and then split it off into a Y, so that your two male block connectors are together, yeah? And obviously your two female block connectors together. The only wire you've got left remaining is the yellow wire, and that's the mute wire. Now you have three options on these Parrot kits. It depends on the delay, how quickly you want it to mute your stereo and how many rings, yeah? I'm just going to plug this bullet connector into the yellow one right there, okay? Like so. Just bullet connector it in. Now you're going to want access to both these power fuses here. You've got your ignition switched and your main power here, so you're going to want access to those, and I'll show you why in a little bit. But for now we're going to plug this in. We're going to start getting it moving, as it were. So on your car wiring that you've put in, your SOT040, take the multimeter out there, don't need that anymore. We're going to start connecting these blocks together, yeah? So there's the female going onto the male look and vice versa. So we'll plug those in. And that's how you want it to end up looking. Nice and neat, all tidied up. I'm a firm believer that to take your time, neatness is the key to an installation that will work first time, every time. Okay, so you plugged in, that end will go in your radio, yeah, which replaced your original one there. And this end basically gets fed through the dashboard down into the footwell down here to plug into your blue master control box. This piece, because it's got an edge connector on it, look. There you go. And after that we'll be looking at doing a bit of testing, and it's where I will come back to these two fuses. Okay, right, so with everything tucked in there and gone down, we've now come out here, as you can see, with the connector. We've plugged everything in: main harness connector, microphone, USB connector that comes out in your glove box, and also the one for the screen, this one, yeah? So everything's plugged in. We can now attach our screen. Yeah, it's on a slider, look, a little USB under there, so you can go ahead, click that on. It says bumbling, that's on, comes off, so you can you know, keep it in the little carry case if you want. And you're going to want to put the battery now in the remote control, don't forget that, comes in the kit. There we go, battery with the plus side up, yeah, it sits in a little recess for that, and then you can go ahead and carefully close it like so, click, done. Right, and now at this point in time, obviously with your fuse back in and everything ready at this position, you can turn your ignition on and make sure everything comes live. Let's go ahead and do that now then. Ignition on. Give them a minute. Parrot kits normally click, we've just heard it click there, the control box, and this thing will power up. There we go, little power up symbol. Now what we're probably going to have to do is swap two little fuse holders around, which I will show you, but I'm going to show you the problem to look for first, okay? So let's just wait for this to power up. Unfortunately it's a sunny day, so the LCD screen is a little bit obscured at the moment. You hear it click again when it does its initial install reset. Give it a sec and you'll see a big bar graph thing come up on the screen. There we go, look, like so. Okay, so we're going to go with English. Press the little control button there, yeah. If the controller's working. If your controller does not work, like this one just didn't do, you're going to have to pair it. So within the first 10 seconds of the ignition going on, press and hold play, call end and call start all at the same time, and it will come up on screen saying pairing, yeah. So you quite literally just press them all down, all three, yeah, like so. And I think this one's paired now, so it won't work, but trust me, it'll come up as pairing. Okay. So we've okayed for English. It will do an automatic reboot. You'll have to repair your remote, by the way, if ever you change the battery on it, because the batteries do go flat. So if your Parrot kit stops working, change your battery and you'll have to repair your remote. So once again, green, red, play, all at the same time while the ignition is on within the first 10 seconds of the kit powering up. That will pair this to the kit. Your kit will come up saying pairing, yeah? So if we press the control now, we can go through bits and bobs.
Line settings.
There you go, you can hear that working. Now here's the key. When you switch the ignition off, it needs to say goodbye. If it doesn't, your two power feeds need switching round. So let's turn off. Key out. Give it a minute. Or two in this case. Okay, so basically by now we should have had a little symbol saying goodbye, and it hasn't done, it's just clicked off, yeah? Now what you're going to have to do to correct this problem, it's basically on Citroens and Peugeots and anything with where the power supply needs swapping around. You're going to have to take these two fuse holders apart, they just twist and come apart, and swap them around so that red goes to orange and orange goes to red. I'll do it and I'll show you what I'm on about when I've done it. Like so, yeah? They're just split in the middle. You just twist and pull and they'll come apart. Make sure the little glass fuses don't fall out. You're going to need them in there, yeah? So red there, orange there, red there, orange there. Okay, if you now go back and switch your ignition on, like so, give it a minute to power up. It's booting now. I've heard it click. There we go. You've got a little display going there, look. Okay. Let's just press the remote, make sure it's all working.
Line in.
Yes, it is. Now let's take the key out, turn off. There we go, key out. Give it a minute again, not too long. Like waiting for paint to dry. Click, that's the kit, and the fuse box clicking, and it should go off any second. There you go. Goodbye. That's what you need it to do. If it doesn't do that, you need to swap those two fuses round. Right, on to one of your last jobs, which is basically you're going to figure out where you're going to position your controller. Yeah, it's got a sticky back on it if you want to put it wherever you wish is convenient. Or the wrap that comes with it lets you put it on the inside of the steering wheel, like so. You need to be pushing all this back well out the way into the hole there and tidying all that up. So that's what I'm going to go ahead and do now, and then obviously we'll have a look at the radio going back in and it all working. And when you're shoving all your cables back, your car wasn't designed to have all that sort of amount of clutter behind the radio. On this particular car, DS3, CS or C3s, you can normally shove everything to the left and down out the way. Pull it through very gently using the main power cable there, and you should clear it, it should go. After that, click your quad lock connector back on and push fit your Facra aerial. This goes on exactly the same as it came off. Make sure the bracket is open, shove the thing on, and then close the bracket down. After that, go and click your radio in. Okay, stereo reinstalled, Parrot kit on, everything working as it should do. We've put the little control pad up here, as you can see that's all working. Look. And it'll mute your stereo straight away and come back on with your music and what have you, when it's sort of finished doing its call, etc. If this guide was any help at all, please click like at the bottom. And if you've got any questions, drop it down in the comments below. I do my best to answer questions the same day, but I must admit I am being bombarded with questions since starting doing these technical videos. Thank you very much for watching, and bye for now.